And eventually it led to a criminal investigation, thanks to Judicial Watch's uncovering of the cover-up of Hillary's emails, where she stole emails, including classified information. The information showed that she was selling her office and providing special favors to donors, because they were donors, to the Clinton Foundation. So it just kind of blew the lid off of that whole scandal. New information on top of what, to me, is really quite significant levels of damning information that should have long ago required prosecutions or criminal investigations. But here we have new information on Russiagate, the conspiracy against Trump, the cover-up of scandals far and wide by the FBI and Justice Department and intelligence agencies to not only target Trump, but also protect their own. And as I've noted before, and the way you have to think about this is that obviously the targeting of Trump was abusive, and they hated his guts politically. They kind of just decided during the Obama era, that misusing government to target and jail your political opponents is perfectly legitimate. They abused the IRS, and obviously later they abused Trump. But in part, it was always about protecting themselves, about protecting Joe, about protecting Hillary. And we see this with the latest revelations as declassified by the heroine of the moment, Tulsi Gabbard, who is the Office of Director of National Intelligence. She runs that agency, which really is frankly good for nothing, practically speaking, in the bureaucracy, other than getting documents out there, because they're kind of the fulcrum through which all the intelligence community documents can be managed and reviewed and then released. So important developments from Tulsi Gabbard, and she talked about how important it was at a White House briefing the other day. And let's go to number 32.
The implications of this are frankly nothing short of historic. Over 100 documents that we released on Friday really detail and provide evidence of how this treasonous conspiracy was directed by President Obama just weeks before he was due to leave office, after President Trump had already gotten elected. This is not a Democrat or Republican issue. This is an issue that is so serious it should concern every single American, because it has to do with the integrity of our democratic republic. What we saw occur here, as the documents we released detailed, was that we had a sitting president of the United States and his cabinet and leadership team, quite frankly, who were not happy with the fact that President Trump had won the election, that the American people had chosen Donald J. Trump to be the next president commander-in-chief of the United States.
So Tulsi referred the new material she released to the Justice Department for criminal investigation. And given the way the Justice Department works, I'm sure they were horrified, because they, in my view, institutionally don't want to do any of this. They haven't shown any interest in doing much of this in terms of actual criminal investigations to date. So we'll see how that goes. And President Trump responded as you expect he would respond, with outrage and a focus on the fact that it was Obama who is most chiefly responsible in our system for what went on. Let's go to number 29.
They tried to rig the election, and they got caught. And there should be very severe consequences for that. You know, when we caught Hillary Clinton, I said, you know what? Let's not go too far here. It's the ex-wife of a president, and I thought it was sort of terrible. And I let her off the hook, and I'm very happy I did. But it's time to start, after what they did to me, and whether it's right or wrong, it's time to go after people. Obama's been caught directly. So people say, oh, you know, a group. It's not a group. It's Obama. His orders are on the paper. The papers are signed. The papers came right out of their office. They sent everything to be highly classified. Well, the highly classified's been released And what they did in 2016 and in 2020 is very criminal. It's criminal at the highest level. So that's really the things you should be.
Yeah, and it should have been investigated because the new information isn't new information. It's just been newly declassified. This information's been floating around D.C. for years, and it's only been released thanks to the second Trump administration. And the documents show, as both Tulsi Gabbard and President Trump highlighted, that the Obama administration from the very top manipulated, lied about, misled, engaged in fraud, conspiracy, you name it, to target Trump while protecting themselves. And there were two documents, and I encourage you, because I'm not going to be able to go through them completely with you. I can only read a section or two. It's the Office of Inspector General. It's a report. It was their review of the Russiagate scam. And what happened is they issued this big report, but there was this classified appendix that never saw the light of day. And everyone's been trying to get it released, and finally Tulsi released it. So this is what you need to review. This is your homework. The other section of your homework is the Oversight, Investigation, and Referral, the Intelligence Community Assessment, written by the Congress, the House, I think it was the House Intelligence Community. And it's secret, and it's only been declassified as of the other day. I encourage you to review it as well. We'll provide the links to you below. Now, the first part I want to go through is what they did in terms of targeting Trump through the FBI, DOJ gang. So, as you recall, they were investigating Hillary thanks to our email disclosures here at Judicial Watch. Judicial Watch uncovered Hillary's emails. And eventually it led to a criminal investigation thanks to Judicial Watch's uncovering of the cover-up of Hillary's emails, where she stole emails including classified information. The information showed that she was selling her office and providing special favors to donors, because they were donors, to the Clinton Foundation. So it just kind of blew the lid off of that whole scandal. And it resulted in James Comey having to do an investigation or non-investigation. I remember back in the day, the FBI was literally following our lead in terms of doing the investigation. They wouldn't have done anything but for Judicial Watch being allowed by certain courts to proceed with trying to figure out what went on when they hid records and emails from Judicial Watch and the American people about a host of issues, as was being detailed in her very emails, whether it be about Benghazi or other topics. And we were front and center on it. Not only did we uncover the emails, but we were giving the ability to depose individuals under oath. And it put a lot of pressure on the FBI to follow our lead. And here's just one example. Back, of course, I moved the document that I needed. Here's just one example of what we were talking about at the time, with even trying to, we never were able to depose Hillary, but I described what the case was about in this oldie but goodie, number 33. Hi, Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton here with a special court update on the Clinton email scandal. Judicial Watch was in federal court twice this week seeking access to all of the Clinton emails gathered by the State Department. Plus, we want to depose Hillary Clinton under oath about her email misconduct. Judge Royce Lamberth, one of the federal court judges involved in these cases, criticized both the Justice Department and the State Department for giving him false statements on the Clinton email issue. Plus, he severely criticized the Justice Department for granting immunity to top Clinton aide Cheryl Mills, whom he had found earlier to have committed perjury in another Judicial Watch lawsuit. Judicial Watch is doing the heavy lifting once again that Congress and the government refused to do, holding Hillary Clinton and the State Department accountable for the massive violations of law in the Clinton email scandal. So as you can see from that video, where I've turned gray since then, right? That's what Obama did to me. That the Judicial Watch was right in the center of the storm. But separately, the FBI, because of the work we had done, was between a rock and a hard place, meaning scandal upon scandal emerged as a result of the investigation we forced upon them. And the investigation uncovered, and we're finding out this now as a result of this release of information by Tulsi Gabbard, that there were 4 or 5 thumbnail drives that had been uncovered from their counterintelligence work. And the thumbnails concerned material uncovered from Hillary's email servers, material uncovered by the president himself, Barack Obama, and all sorts of other material that they frankly didn't even bother to look at in a way that was comprehensive. And so rather than pursue the information in these materials, they basically just put it aside. But they did find in this information, though, something that they found disturbing, at least Comey found disturbing, and this is what was the issue. Let me bring it up to you, because we heard a little bit about it, but now we've got the actual detail. Let me go to OIG report. Forgive me while I get on the computer down here. It's 6 pages down or so. So they got some documents. And the documents, by the way, come from places that they found to be credible. So this wasn't like the Steele dossier. This was, oh, this is a credible intelligence source. We don't believe the information to be credible, but the source is serious enough, we got to figure out what's going on. Recent information, and this is the translation, recent information from Russian, recent information appearing in the media about the FBI investigating possible facts of corruption connected with the State Department under Clinton and the granting of preferences to Clinton fund donors. Again, all of that uncovered by Judicial Watch. All of that was uncovered by Judicial Watch. Created a negative reaction within the party, though the information was known to Democratic Party leaders since June of 2015. According to Wasserman Schultz, who then was the head of the Democratic National Committee, the congresswoman from Florida, so far the FBI does not have any hard evidence against Hillary Clinton because data was removed from the mail servers just in time. Obama is not in the mood to mar the very final segment of his presidency, his legacy with a scandal around a leading nominee for the Democratic Party. To deal with this, he is using Loretta Lynch, the Attorney General, to mount a pressure on FBI Director James Comey. Alas, so far with no concrete results. Comey is leaning more to Republicans, and most likely he will be dragging this investigation until the presidential elections in order to effectively undermine the chances for Democratic Party to win the presidential elections. And then the second part of the material, by way of forming a consensus relative to the candidacy of Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, leading the Democratic Party, sanctioned use of all administrative levers to remove possible negative effects of the FBI investigation of the business of the Clinton Foundation and the email correspondence of the State Department. Based on the information from Wasserman Schultz, the FBI does not anticipate any kind of direct evidence against Clinton, as there was timely deletion of the email servers. The political director of the Hillary Clinton staff, Amanda Renteria, regularly receives information from Loretta Lynch of the Department of Justice on the plans and intentions of the FBI. Active work is being done on clarification, mostly with potential witnesses. The primary witnesses are a number of computer specialists in the Clinton private circle. They represent the only tools which may be used in this matter, therefore the threat is minimal. So, according to Russia Intel, Obama was obstructing justice and Loretta Lynch was obstructing justice by conspiring with the Clinton campaign to keep them abreast of information. Now, does it mean it happened? I don't know. Does it mean it needed to be investigated? You would think. But as best I could tell, and according to the report, and this is, and you can read it in the report. I'm going to summarize it for you here. Comey and top people of the FBI didn't find this analysis to be credible. Comey says, I didn't feel pressure from Loretta Lynch. Others say that it just didn't sound credible to them. Interestingly, they go and visit with Loretta Lynch and brief her on this. After the meeting, or during the meeting, Comey and his associate who briefed her at the Justice Department said her reaction was strange. It was kind of unemotional, kind of very subdued, and they were curious about it. Obviously, they thought maybe something was up. It was because of this piece of intelligence information that Comey justified his going public and with this statement that Hillary may be the worst person in the world, but she shouldn't be prosecuted. Because he thought that if this material got out, it would look like Loretta Lynch, if she made the decision specifically, it'd make it look like even more of a scandal than it now is. Isn't that amazing? You had them spying on Donald Trump based on Hillary Clinton campaign intelligence, yet they get intelligence from a Russian source that they previously had found to be reliable, implicating the president and the attorney general in an interference campaign to help rig the election for Hillary Clinton through obstructing justice, and they don't do anything about it. They don't do anything about it. And in fact, they knew there was material on there that was national security sensitive. They still didn't try to figure out what went on. They knew Obama's emails had been compromised. They still didn't care about it. Why? Because they were more interested in protecting Hillary, protecting Obama, national security be danged, because it was all about getting Trump. That's how I summarize this document. It shows that national security took a back seat because it looked like our systems were compromised. Hillary lost her, excuse me, I got to get this. I dropped this document. Hillary servers were compromised. That was never disclosed. We had evidence, Judicial Watch, that her servers were compromised. And we shared it with the FBI. They didn't do anything on it. And who was running that? Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, the anti-Trump, pro-Hillary Clinton FBI agents. It's devastating information. The intelligence in 2016, in terms of serious material that had credibility in terms of sourcing, had nothing to do with Trump being implicated in anything, and everything to do with Obama and the Attorney General of the United States being implicated. So much so that the head of the FBI kind of went into crisis mode in dealing with it. And they suppressed the information from the American people. And I'm sorry, what's outrageous here is that we're waiting years to see this. This was July 2018. It's now 2025. 7 years. Really inexcusable. And it's 20 or so pages of material, and it's devastating. I mean, it shows you how the investigation that gave Hillary a free pass, there was a thumb on the scale. It meant ignoring information involving the fact that classified information on her system was for sure compromised, that Obama's material was compromised, other national security material was compromised, and they didn't do anything to follow up because to admit it would have been devastating in terms of their decision to let Hillary go. And this cover-up continued well into the Trump administration, only exposed through this IG report that for whatever reason, President Trump and the deep staters around him just didn't get declassified. This is why the Mueller operation was so successful in terms of protecting the corruptocrats. I don't mean that in a partisan way. It's my shorthand way of talking about the corrupt politicians here in Washington, D.C. Because he's under the gun, they can't get material like this declassified because no one wants to put their neck on the line to get this material out and expose Obama, Hillary, and all the rest. And they all knew it was garbage. So they've got serious material that Obama is compromised, Loretta Lynch is compromised, that there had been hacks into Hillary's system, into Obama's emails, and they did nothing but cover it up as they were going full bore against President Trump, spying on him in a way that was criminally corrupt. You know, and I knew it was all garbage from the beginning. My colleagues and I, we knew as soon as they went after Mueller was appointed, I was like, this is crazy town. We knew when they put out this intelligence community assessment, which I'll get into now, pretending that Putin wanted to get Hillary elected, or excuse me, wanted to get Trump elected. It was obvious it was a scam. It was obvious from the get-go. It was all a political operation against Trump. The intelligence was obviously manipulated from the get-go. And I get a little frustrated, forgive me, because we were out there exposing this from the beginning. You know, you may not remember this, but when Mueller was first appointed, all the Republicans approved of him. Oh, Mueller has this wonderful reputation. Let's all fall down on the ground when he walks by because we're not worthy of him. And I said, no, no, no. The special counsel is a scam and a scheme, and it had the effect of freezing the Justice Department from doing anything in terms of accountability for the Obama, Clinton, Biden gang. And I talked about this. There was a story about this. I highlighted again. Where is it, guys? Is it in the emails inbox? Yeah, Judicial Watch, virtually alone. Here's the tweet I put out. This is from the Washington Post. 2000 stood against the Obama and Clinton gang's Russiagate hoax from the beginning. No longer a lonely battle. Oh, I can't see the story because it's I'm not signed into the Washington Post. The point was that literally Judicial Watch was alone. I shouldn't say literally. Virtually Judicial Watch was alone in highlighting these abuses. And of course, they all knew it was a scam from the get-go. They all knew. I mean, listen to this speech I gave a few years ago, number 7, where I expose it.
Judicial Watch protected Trump and our republic from the worst corruption scandal in American history by exposing the FISA abuse, the Comey corruption, and the seditious conspiracy against Trump by the FBI and DOJ. Obama knew, Clinton knew, Comey knew, Biden knew, Brennan knew, McCabe knew, Strzok knew, Clapper knew, Schiff knew, the FBI knew, the DOJ knew, the CIA knew, the State Department knew. They all knew Trump was innocent, but they smeared and spied on him anyway. Worse than Watergate. Trump is a crime victim. Let's remember that.
He sure was. And the new sets of documents released also by, or declassified also by Tulsi Gabbard, includes this House report, Oversight, Investigative, and Referral, related to Russia's influence campaign for targeting the presidential election. And in the report, it highlights how key pieces of so-called intelligence was misstated in a material way to make it seem like, or to justify, the fake conclusion that President Putin, or Putin, aspired to help Trump win the election. Well, now, as I say it, doesn't it raise a question? What is, I aspire to do something? What does that mean? Right? Just the language itself, which of course initially was kept secret, suggests that they're doing some sort of shady work. But they clearly wanted to put out material, and we talked about this last week. The Obama gang, in a series of meetings, targeted Trump with investigations related to Russia that were purely political. And they knew, the Russians knew, that Hillary needed to push the Russia scandal to protect herself on the emails. They knew it from the get-go. And this is something that Obama knew in 2016. And as of last week, there are at least 3 meetings that took place where Obama was personally either briefed or directed the operations against President Trump. And one of the information pieces they had was that the Russians had this DNC hack, supposedly. And what was in that DNC material was, some of it was leaked. Now, the theory was, well, it was being leaked to hurt Hillary and help Trump. And the thinking was that there was this piece of information, a fragment, as they say in the report, that Putin was, quote, counting on Trump winning. And as the report details, well, what does that mean? Does it mean he's counting on Trump winning and he's helping him? No, because that isn't what it said. Does it mean he's counting on him winning the election? No, because the timing suggests that he could be winning the primary, because that's when the intelligence came through that they're interpreting. Or it could be he's guessing that he's winning and therefore planning for that situation. Nowhere in the intelligence did it warrant the conclusion not only did he aspire to help Trump, but that he was directing assets to be used to advance his campaign, which was one of the conclusions the Obama goons were putting out there falsely. In the meantime, they ignored all the evidence that they were basically planning for a Hillary presidency, including keeping back information that was potentially devastating if she won, and so devastating that they could have derailed her campaign if they released it at the time. And supposedly in the documents, according to this declassified material, they had material that was seemingly pretty devastating, and it looked like it came from the DNC material that they supposedly hacked. Although I'm not all that convinced the Russians hacked it, but it is what it is. That's what the conclusions were. So let's go to that. So this is what else you need to read. The Oversight, Investigative, Referral. This is the document. I'm going to read you one section that I think it's useful to read, because you kind of hear these things talked about online and in the media, but you don't really get to see what it is, at least some of the detail. And, you know, one of the nice things about Judicial Watch having this broadcast every week is that we get to go into a little bit of the detail with you. in a way you otherwise wouldn't find anywhere else. It's on page 17 of the report. Let me go to page 17. Thereabouts. So listen to this. Listen to this. So the intelligence community assessment, the scam assessment, as this referral notes, said Moscow had additional information it obtained from cyber collection against U.S. government and non-governmental targets, such as reports on Secretary Clinton's health, that it could have used against the Clinton administration's policies and nominees based on blank. We assess that Moscow refrained from the full spectrum of actions it could have taken to affect the U.S. election. We judged that the Kremlin could have disclosed additional material. And this is the critique. This is on the page above here. The ICA's generic description of the materials Putin held back makes the reader unaware of significant information available to Moscow to denigrate Secretary Clinton. This violated ICD 2203 directives, I guess, which are internal directives to intelligence collection, that analysis be informed of all relevant information available, quote, given that documents leaked during the election were far less damaging to Secretary Clinton than those that Putin chose not to leak. And this is what he chose not to leak. As of September 2016, the Russian Foreign Intelligence Service, the SVR, had Democratic National Committee information that President Obama and party leaders found the state of Secretary Clinton's health to be extraordinarily alarming and felt it could have had serious negative impact on her election prospects. Her health information was being kept in strictest secrecy, and even close advisors were not being fully informed. The SVR possessed DNC communications that Clinton was suffering from intensified psycho-emotional problems, including uncontrolled fits of anger, aggression, and cheerfulness. Clinton was placed on a daily regimen of heavy tranquilizers, and while afraid of losing, she remained obsessed with a thirst for power. The SVR also had information that Clinton suffered from type 2 diabetes, ischemic heart disease, and deep vein thrombosis, and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. The SVR possessed a campaign email discussing a plan approved by Secretary Clinton to link Putin and Russian hackers to candidate Trump in order to distract the American public from the Clinton email server scandal. Trump knew about that. He was briefed on that, as I recall. Don't rely on me. You can go double check on it. So I'm going by memory here. I think it was in August of 2016. But Obama was told about that. The Russian Federal Security Services, SFB, in August had details of secret meetings with multiple named U.S. religious organizations in which the Obama U.S. State Department, I'm adding that in, by the way, offered in exchange for supporting Hillary Clinton significant increases in financing from department funds and the patronage of state in dealing with post-Soviet countries. FBI Director James Comey testified to the committee that in August 2016, this SVR had DNC emails in which the head of the DNC was telling people that former Attorney General Lynch was working to control me and keeping a named member of the Clinton campaign informed on what the FBI was doing in the Clinton email investigation, and that's what I referred to earlier. So it goes on. All of this information, by the way to describe Hillary, it's probably consistent to some of what you've seen from Hillary publicly. It's consistent from what I've heard at Judicial Watch from whistleblowers that have been public about what was going on in the Clinton White House. So there's nothing I'm hearing about what Hillary's health issues are that would be surprising to anyone who's been observing her. over the years. Been reading books about her, whistleblower accounts and stuff. So they had intelligence, supposedly, created by the Hillary campaign in coordination with the Obama FBI that supposedly Trump was in bed with the Russians. When in fact, they had contemporaneous information that what Hillary was saying was designed to protect her from her emails, which of course is what I presumed, and most every normal person who looked at this presumed. That the Russia thing was not about what Trump was doing, it was about what Clinton was doing and had been caught doing, stealing classified information and emails that were not hers to take, as exposed by little old Judicial Watch. So what does this all mean? Is there going to be a criminal investigation of all of this? I don't know. Do I trust the Justice Department to do it or the FBI to do it? No. Institutionally, they're going to be investigating themselves. The FBI was involved in these crimes. The Justice Department was involved in these crimes, this cover-up, this fraud. As President Trump pointed out, the Supreme Court decision that acknowledged the immunity he has for acts as president, official acts, is going to be very protective of President Obama's role in this cover-up and scandal. I mean, I've always observed it was always going to be a difficult task to kind of have any prosecutor come in and second-guess a president's handling of intelligence information. This is very damning, but in the end, it's the president who gets to decide what to do with it. And that's going to be very helpful to to Obama, excuse me. Now, does it mean that he's perfectly immune? I don't think so. I do think there needs to be an investigation in the least. But to be clear, even an investigation is limited by the Supreme Court. You just can't go and because you're curious about something, start asking a president about his handling of intelligence matters. So it's mightily complicated. So this is what I recommend. And I've recommended it before. You may have heard me say it before. President Trump should directly appoint a prosecutor, call it whatever he wants. Special presidential prosecutor, special prosecutor, independent counsel, presidential counsel, whatever you want to call it. Someone who reports to him who investigates this. The FBI and Justice Department are compromised. They're conflicted. I think the current leadership are kind of overwhelmed. They're completely overwhelmed. As I've commented before, there are thousands of James Comeys still in the Justice Department than the FBI. And relying on those two agencies to basically expose themselves as incapable of ever being trusted again, I think we're asking too much of them. And it's no criticism necessarily of Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche, who's running the Justice Department with Pam, or Kash Patel, etc. It's just the reality of it. There's just too much going on. And if I could be mildly critical, given the way they handled the Epstein documents, yeah, I don't think they can handle a much more complex investigation like this. I just don't. And nor should they. I don't trust the agencies generally, no matter who's running them. And so the president can designate as chief magistrate under the Constitution a special counsel that reports to him to investigate anything he needs to have investigated. And they can bring in outside resources to do the investigation, or other law enforcement resources outside the FBI, which are plenty in terms of availability. You have the IRS has investigators, Defense Department has investigators, Homeland Security has investigators. The Postal Service, they've got a lot of great investigators over there who can do this type of investigation. You could even get the U.S. Marshals involved. The Marshals, they're pretty good guys generally, even though they are DOJ. So maybe not, given my concerns about the institution's compromised nature. But that's the way to get it done. Because otherwise, what I think we're going to have are hit and miss prosecutions on largely irrelevant things that don't get at the heart of the matter. As what happened under Durham. You don't want a Durham 2.0? I don't. And I fear that's what's going to happen. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Pam and Cash will go to town and get a serious and comprehensive investigation going on. Well, they haven't thus far. They've known what's in this material, or should have known. It's 6 months. Why hasn't anything been done yet? I mean, we're only finding out about it now. You know, and when I've complained earlier, I was told, and people like me were told, oh, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. They got it all covered. They're going to do something. We don't know what they know. Well, now we do know what they know, and still there's no evidence anything significant's being done. I put a tweet out the other day. All I wrote was, I'm skeptical. But this is pretty devastating material. And it's going to be complicated to get people held accountable over this. It's a grand conspiracy against our republic, that's for sure. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like our video down below.